We have the second part of the program today was the Library of Congress reports presented by William Kopycki, the Field Director of the Library of Congress Cairo office and Nairobi office, and Fehl, the Field Director of Islamabad office. Are we missing someone? Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. But first, we will have a remote presentation from our colleague, Hong Moore, from the head of the Middle East section in the African and Middle East cataloging section in Washington. So, Hong, whenever you're ready.
Hi, William. Thank you. Hello, everybody. May I be made a co-host so that I can present my PowerPoint?
All right, you should be co-host.
Thank you. Sharing my screen now. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon from DC. Thank you for the invite to report my section's work in 2022. My name is Hong Moore. I'm the section head of the Middle East and South Asia section, also known as MESA, in the Asian and Middle Eastern division at the Library of Congress. For those who are not familiar with my section, it is a merger of two former sections, Middle East and South and Southeast Asia. In the interest of time, I will only focus on the Middle East operation of my section. The green and orange countries on the map on your screen. When appropriate, I'll mention other collections too. Here is another map which shows the 4 field offices with which my section works. Cairo and Islamabad are covered in this presentation. They're up here. I'm not sure you can see my cursor or not. Despite the vast region that MESA covers, I only have 7 permanent staff in the Middle East operation. Of the 7 staff, 5 are senior librarians, 2 handle Arabic materials, 1 Kurdish, Persian, and Turkish. He can also handle Arabic equally well, 1 for Central Asia and Turkic languages, 1 Mongolia. Even though Central Asia and Mongolia are not part of the Middle East geographically, I include them in this presentation because these librarians have working knowledge of Turkish and can work on Turkish materials when needed. I also have 2 technicians, 1 for Central Asia and 1 for Middle East, 2 volunteers, 1 for cataloging and 1 for serials check-in. And in November of last year, we hired a contract librarian for Tibetan and Sanskrit rare collections. This is our Tibetan librarian, Mr. Lobsang Tenge, who worked with Columbia University before coming to the Library of Congress. He started in November 2021 and has been working with Asian Division on rare Tibetan materials. Starting in January, he will switch over to cataloging Sanskrit materials. Our staff are proud of their foreign language skills. As part of their regular duties, they provide foreign language support to other sections in the Library of Congress, other libraries, and the Policy and Standards Division. But their main duties are to provide acquisitions and cataloging support to the African and Middle Eastern Division. In terms of acquisitions, we performed end-stage processing of nearly 14,000 pieces sent to us from Cairo and Islamabad. I will explain a bit more on this later. We also purchased materials directly from 6 vendors. In 2022, we bought more than 28 pieces and received over 400 pieces as gifts. Due to the lack of technical staff, most of our librarians processed invoices from vendors themselves. It's typically a technician work. We also acquired diaspora materials published in the EU and North America. Last year, we purchased 166 pieces from Ferdowsi and 195 from Kitab. I'm going to show you this map again to show you where, in case you didn't know, Kitab is located in Sweden, and they are responsible for acquiring materials published outside of Iran in Europe, in the EU. Kitab is located in Los Angeles and responsible for acquiring Persian materials from North America, United States, and Canada. In terms of cataloging, we performed minimum level, subject, and whole book cataloging. For these 3 categories, we performed 36% of the total in ASME division. Here's another look at these 3 categories in numbers. As you can see, we catalog a lot more whole items than MLCs and subject combined. Our staff also performed bibliographic file maintenance and authority work. Last year, we spent a lot of time correcting records with errors, which prevented researchers from finding books they needed. By updating these records, we improved the integrity of the database and hopefully increased usage of the collections. In addition to routine work, we also engaged in several special projects. The Missouri collection started in 2016 with 2 catalogers, and by 2022, 50% is completed. There are approximately 5,000 imprints and manuscripts in Arabic. Persian language digitization project, which started in 2015. I'm sorry, for some reason my throat is dry. 2 senior catalogers cataloged the manuscripts, and by 2022, 160 manuscripts completed, 630 lithographs, and 150 early imprints completed. The Franklin Book Program collection, the Library of Congress has about 4,000 titles, over 2,000 of which are in Arabic and Persian. The project began in 2019 and completed in 2022. We also worked on Urdu titles, but not yet completed. Central Asia Collection Serial Reduction Project. This is a massive project that only one librarian and one technician worked on it. And we started last summer, and so far 209 titles reviewed, 1,500 issues collated into 657 bundles ready to be bound. Over 1,600 old issues have been weeded from the collection. I'm sorry, I'm repeating the Franklin book collection here. I should have deleted from the previous slide, but here are some images of the Franklin book materials. This is in Arabic. Basically, the Franklin book collection the collection contains books in English translated into Arabic and Persian. This is Arabic, and this is in Persian. And they are housed neatly in the African and Middle Eastern division in those boxes. In terms of, as I mentioned earlier, we performed a few tasks on materials shipped from overseas, from OVAP offices to our section. In all, we opened about over 900 boxes and performed final processing over 13 pieces between last November and now. You can see the numbers down here. Here are a few images of boxes from Cairo and Islamabad in the receiving room. From there, they were delivered to our section for unboxing and processing. These are just very small amount of what actually came in. Here they are in our section. Again, this is not all we received last year. We received a lot more. During the summer of this year, we received a delegation of budget analysts from 6 OVAP offices who were in Washington for a meeting. A few staff were available to explain our operations. The person in red jacket is librarian Amal Mozi, who catalogs Arabic materials. In yellow shirt is librarian Sarul Myanmar, who handles Mongolian materials. In blue coat is Roland Blake, who provides technical assistance to the entire division, not just our collection. I'm sorry, our section. And the man in plaid shirt is Hussein Yunozi, technical staff who performs in-stage processing of materials cataloged by librarians. I see 3 people sent a message in chat. Is there a possibility to share the PowerPoint presented? I'm not sure if that's for me or for the hosts. Or their plans. Okay, those are not for me. So okay, so this concludes my report. If you're new to this annual meeting and would like to learn more about our section's work, please go to our website below and select the section in red. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malcolm. We'll keep the questions until the end. Now it's William Kopycki's turn.
Which microphone do I need? This one or another? Good morning. Good morning. So this is the MACAP report 2022 for MELA. And of course, it's really nice to be here in person again. So for the benefit of those who are new or attending for the first time, I'm Kopycki, Acting Field Director for Cairo Library of Congress's Cairo Overseas Office. And my focus here is on the Middle East Cooperative Acquisitions Program, one of 6 regional programs operating to catalog, preserve, and distribute library materials from countries where such materials are otherwise unavailable through conventional acquisition methods. And these CAP programs are allow the Library of Congress to make these books and serials available to other libraries on a cost recovery basis. So it's worth mentioning that as MELA celebrates its 50th anniversary, Cairo office also celebrated its 60th anniversary earlier this year. So it is a great milestone. Unlike our 50th, there are no lanyards from the Library of Congress. We are federal government. Thank you. So this year, I'm especially pleased to have with us, not just 1, but 2 acquisition section heads from Cairo office. We have in the back, Mr. Fehl, head of monograph acquisitions, Cairo. In front here, Ahmed Mustafa, head of serial shipping and binding. So whether you are attending in person or remotely, we are here to meet with you. Online or on site, we're here at the Denver Sheraton until Saturday morning. So please contact one of us if you would like to meet and discuss matters. Anyway, as the administrator and operator of MACAP, Cairo office worked under current circumstances, that is pandemic and post-pandemic, to acquire and fill orders for publications made by you, our participants. The total number of MACAP acquisitions acquired by the end of fiscal year 2022, that is September 30th, 2022, were 24,277 monographs and 13,823 serial pieces that were distributed among 47 participant libraries with a total value of $331,000, 319.27. So that is a record-breaking, a 10-year record-breaking high in terms of the volume of materials that we've acquired for participants. And this is comparison to FY 2021 figures, where we acquired 16,560 monograph pieces and 17,411 serial pieces for a value of $243,664.32. So why I'm telling you this? Because the orders completed and filled for MACAP participants this is a cooperative program. The more we get for you, the less we are able to have to charge for the indirect and overhead rates. So at the time of this writing, we actually did our cost recovery exercise at the end of the year, and the indirect overhead charges that resulted in were 25%, which really reflects the strong efforts made in the acquisitions for MACAP participants. However, in Washington, because the I&O rate is determined on a running 3-year average, the final rate that we're going to have for fiscal year 2024 that you will see in your invoices is going to be a solid 31%. In other words, it didn't go up, it didn't go down, but the idea is based on the current momentum that we have doing acquisitions, if this keeps up, for sure, at this time next year, that I&O rate will go down. So this is what we are hoping for. In March 2022, the telework mandated by embassy management was lifted, and Cairo office was able to resume full staffing in the office. That meant that everyone could do more work. We did telework, cataloging books by telework is not the most effective way to do the work. And there's a lot of physical work. We, are acquiring materials, we have to make selections, so we have to touch the books, we have to look through the serial titles and their issues, get things checked in. And of course, for shipping, things like shipping or any other physical processing, we need to have all our staff on site. And with that telework kind of being lifted, we were able to resume acquisition trips. So over the past year, Khalid and Ahmed both traveled to Sharjah Book Fair, Muscat Book Fair, and Rabat Book Fairs. And they also engaged our suppliers to send as many shipments as possible, because now we're trying to make up for that 3-year loss or two-year loss of materials. And this was in addition to having a very robust Cairo International Book Fair in January of this year. And that was especially notable because there had just been a Cairo International Book Fair in June of last year. So having just a 6-month gap between book fairs and we still acquired so much was quite amazing. More importantly, the office has been engaging with working with suppliers and finding new sources, new channels of acquisitions. So I want to bring up Iraq. Over the past year, we made arrangements for new suppliers for Iraqi monographs covering both North in Kurdish regions and South in Basra and Shrine cities to make sure we get as much as possible. And over the past year, we actually acquired for Library of Congress 1,755 monograph pieces over this past year. So I'd like to thank Khalid for his efforts in getting those materials, and also of special note to the Kurdish language materials, we also resumed getting with a new source. And it had been several years that we had not acquired those. So we're good to go with Iraq. One area, however, that we've been facing a little bit of challenges with has to do with our online ordering system, MUMS. We recognize that some of you as participants may have had trouble placing firm orders. And to be honest, the software was written in the early 2000s, developed locally by our automation section. And we recently found out the hard way that it's not necessarily compatible with Windows 11 and the browsers that are associated with Windows 11. And we have some of you who have contacted us. We have discussed about workarounds like downgrading the Firefox browser to an earlier version, and with that you would be able to place orders. However, this is not sustainable. I have tasked our IT section with implementing a new circulation module, but that is also a work in progress, I'm afraid. So thank you for your patience on that point. I'd also like to make a brief mention about serial collecting among MACAP libraries. As you know, Cairo office manages some 3,220 active serial titles. What's an active serial title? That's a good quiz question. Robin? An active serial title is one that has been published within the last 5 years. On the basis that anything older than that has either been ceased, suspended, or stopped publishing. So one of the activities that Ahmed has been doing recently was to supply me with trends in collecting serials among the Library of Congress, as well as our MACAP participants, because one of the issues that MELA has been talking about is cooperative collection development. And we hear this not only in MELA, but other area studies organizations in terms of building a national collection of Middle East librarian materials. So I guess one word is, not to ignore serials from your collections. And we have a number of statistics that can sort of show the difference. For example, total number of newspaper titles. So for Library of Congress, we acquire 143 newspaper titles from the 22 countries we acquire from. However, our MACAP participants only acquire to 31 newspaper titles. So that's something like 76 newspaper titles that are not necessarily being held at the national level or not being held by institutions outside of Library of Congress. And that's something, as a group, you all may want to look at. For critical countries like Yemen, for instance, we acquire 73 titles for serial titles which would include newspapers for Library of Congress, while there are only 37 titles held by MACAP participants. So again, if you're considering having, a national collection of Middle East librarian materials, you might want to have a couple of institutions also collecting these titles so that they can be more accessible in the United States. And likewise, Oman, a country rich in publications on heritage, Islamic studies, Arabic studies, we acquire 131 titles, of which MACAP participants just acquire 31 titles. So, I mean, there's lots of opportunity there to, collect at a broader level. Not everyone has to, have the same subscriptions to the same newspapers or serial titles, but you can diversify your assets. And this will be better as a whole and for the MELA community at large. So it is just a suggestion. Shipping is a big part of our operation. We face, of course, many issues getting materials shipped from the 22 countries, or 21 countries outside of Egypt that we cover into Cairo, and then outbound to both Library of Congress in Washington and the MACAP participant libraries. But over this past year, in spite of pandemic, in spite of shipping issues, we were able to send out 852 boxes of monographs and serials weighing well over 13 tons to MACAP participants. The office continues to work with a blend of courier companies to maintain its work. And again, the more orders we have with you, the more competitive the shipping rates are that we can get from our courier companies. So it's a workable system. In terms of staffing in the office, okay. Over the past year, we had the departure of Ayman al-Masri, our lead serials librarian, and Khalid Rashid, shipping clerk, both on special immigrant visas. On the other hand, we had recently onboarded a new financial clerk, a new shipping clerk, and before too long, we will have some vacancies in the serials section. And soon, hopefully in the monographs section, we will have some vacancies filled there. Having more bodies in the office means we can produce more cataloging records, ship more things, and acquire more things. So hopefully you will see these changes coming soon. All right, now we're going to talk about the field in the Ghorfa. And that is the biggest staffing change in Cairo office. As I reported last year, I have moved to a new assignment running the library's overseas office in Nairobi, Kenya. And this past February, my family and I, that's Iman over there, that's my wife, we made the move. We made the physical move to Nairobi in February. That's after almost 14 years now of being field director for the Cairo office. Since that time, I've continued to run Cairo office remotely, as well as with site visits, the most recent being a couple of years ago. However, I'm happy to report, and I had permission from my supervisor to do this last night, that we're about to pass the torch to the next Cairo office field director. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that Rustin Zucker from University of North Carolina is going to be the next field director for the Cairo overseas office. I will be working with him closely to facilitate the transition. We hope to be able to get him out early next year, around or during the time of Cairo Book Fair. This has been a long time in coming, and there are many hoops to jump through for a new field director to jump through. But I hope you will all welcome him and support him. And of course, Cal and Ahmed are hearing this for the first time, because I only got this news last night that I could share it from Beecher, that I could share this with you. So you get it now. But it's good. So honestly, for me personally, Cairo office, its history, its staff, our loyal and dedicated staff, I should say, and of course, Egypt, are in my heart. They are in my blood. It is hard for me to imagine sort of not being able to interact on a daily basis with them and the office. However, I can say that from Nairobi office, there are lots of opportunities for cross-pollination, shall we say, between the two area studies organizations, between collecting. There's a lot going on in sub-Saharan Africa that would be of interest to this group. And I will be happy to, sort of share those things when it comes up. So despite my transfer, I will continue to be part of the MELA community. I'm still secretary treasurer. I have the account information. So it's, you're kind of stuck with me for a little while more. I would like to thank you all, however, for your support for me throughout my time in Cairo and before that. And I look forward to continued work with many of you, either within the cooperative acquisition programs or within MELA, or just being part of the community. And of course, I will especially welcome Rustin when he is able to come on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, William. This is now time for Fehl for the Islamabad report, and definitely congratulations, Austin, for your duty. Looking for working with you.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you that haven't met me, at least virtually, I got into the last conference from my apartment in.
It's my MELA conference in Denver.
Is that okay? Okay, there was a little back feed. Anyway, I'm the field director for the Library of Congress office in Islamabad. I actually am located at post in New Delhi, India. And since January, I've also been I am serving as the new field director for the office in New Delhi. Excuse me. Just a little background information. I'll be talking about the Islamabad office today. The Islamabad office is responsible for covering acquisitions, cataloging, and some preservation for materials from Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan. I'll start with, as William said, also I should mention, the Islamabad office and the New Delhi office also have just celebrated their 60th year anniversary as well. So I guess our big celebration was we celebrated that anniversary by bringing everybody back into the office again after a 2-year hiatus. I'll start with a little bit of the good news. The first thing is Library of Congress did receive a budget, a partial budget on October 1st. We're funded to operate through December the 16th. We don't have any news yet as to what will happen after that. What this meant is that we were able to start placing orders almost immediately. Our financial system, OFERS, actually we had our fastest and least problematic financial year rollover, which again facilitated our starting to place orders after a couple of weeks. I'd like to also, I'm just going to hit all the good points, the good news first. Staffing. In the past year, there's been a significant positive change to the staffing levels in the Islamabad office. We're at our highest staffing levels since 2017. We received permission to, I'll just hit these briefly. We've just hired a new cataloger librarian for Sindhi, Urdu, and English. The select applicant started in June the 21st of this year and is currently undergoing Romanization training for Sindhi and Urdu and starting with RDA and descriptive cataloging training. The second position, we have a new cataloger librarian for Pashto, Urdu, and English, and that selected candidate was an internal selection. The person began on September 26th of this year and is going through the similar training that I just mentioned for the other new hire. We're in the process now of filling our budget technician position. Some of you, most of you probably know, if you're in PIACAP, our program, you know that Bakshish Alahi took an SIV to move to the United States a year ago. And his replacement, Sajid Abbas, was an internal hire. We're in the process now of filling that position. The incumbent of the position will assist the office's senior budget analyst with many of the financial tasks related to PIACAP. We finally received permission after 3 years of requesting to fill a new position. We've created a new position, our office computer management assistant, that also many of you will probably interact with. Both of those two positions, it'll probably take about 4 to 5 months to fill. Leading into acquisitions, at the last conference, and some of you may actually have attended the AAS presentation, where I also gave an update. For several years now, the Library of Congress has demanded that we close our fiscal years from October the 1st through September the 30th of the following year. What we have been required to do over the last 5 years, I think, is to close our books, cease ordering by the end, and clear all publications, pay all bills. All of the vouchers have to then go through the State Department system, through FM's, the Financial Management Center in Bangkok, be calibrated according to the exchange rates on the day that they're processed. Then it goes through the State Department accounting system into the library system. All of that has to clear with no mistakes by July the 30th. Last year, we were told that we were going to have to speed that up by another month. So effectively losing about 5 months of acquisitions per year, acquisitions time when we could place orders and process them. What happened, and actually one of my LC colleagues mentioned this already, is that for the first time in 17 years, we were allowed to take the senior budget analysts from all 6 offices, 7 budget analysts to Washington for a week of meetings. And one of the highlights of that was that those budget analysts were able to talk with financial officers in LC Washington and convince them that there were other ways that we could manage that deadline. So I'm happy to say that we did not lose that additional month of acquiring. In this past fiscal year, the office, LC Washington, had approved the Islamabad office to make 8 acquisitions trips within Pakistan. Unfortunately, the funding for the trips did not translate into U.S. Embassy approval for the staff to travel to all of the places we plan to visit. Once all of the staff were fully vaccinated for COVID, we did start to travel. Our plan was to go to Islamabad, make 2 trips to Karachi, 2 trips to Lahore, 1 to Mirpur Jhelum, 1 to Peshawar Mardan, and 1 to Quetta. 4 factors cut us short. The first was that there was a very late approval of the full federal budget in FY 2022. We're not allowed to, for example, coming to this conference, I'm able to come to this conference, but I have to be back in New Delhi on or before December the 16th. So with the short continuing resolutions that they give, that doesn't allow us enough time to plan acquisitions travel, especially within Pakistan, where it takes us about 2 months to get the embassy approval to go someplace. So that was the first reason, is there was a late approval of the budget. The second was that the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan, the clearances have become more problematic. This includes our employees in Pakistan. The third reason is that there were increased terrorist attacks in Peshawar and Karachi right at the time when we were trying to travel. And the fourth was that the Islamabad's annual cutoff date for making acquisitions trips is June the 30th. So Finally, we were able to complete one trip to Peshawar. That trip was reduced from 5 days to 1 day. Just to give you an idea how complicated this is, the person that was traveling lives in Peshawar. Every weekend goes to Peshawar. Family is there, staying there, and still was only approved. We had original approval for 5 days. The embassy cut it short and said, okay, you can go for 1 day. I have 5 minutes left. Okay, let's see what I can. So anyway, we were able to go to Peshawar. We were able to go to Karachi for 1 week. Embassy would not let us be door to door. We were only allowed to be out of the embassy for 4 hours a day during that week. And we also had a 1 week trip to Lahore. For acquisitions, some statistics. The office in the past year got 47,213 pieces of bibliographic materials for LC and participants. That's an increase of 19.21% over the prior year. For CAP participants, for PIA CAP participants in Pakistan, we acquired 11,094 monographs compared to 7,895 the previous year. Newspaper acquisitions did decrease. We acquired 2,870 pieces of serials as opposed to 3,224 the previous year. And serials were up 7,530 serials from Pakistan as opposed to 5,363. Iran, monographs, we acquired 1,594 for participants as opposed to 638 the previous year. Newspapers stayed the same, 900 pieces. Serials, slight increase, 75 from 58 the previous year. Afghanistan. I would need more than 5 minutes to give you all an update, but we finally were able to acquire 435 monographs from Afghanistan in FY 2022. That is about 50% reduction over the previous year. 498 pieces of newspapers, down again by half, and we have not yet been able to acquire any serials. Basically with Afghanistan, the challenge for us has been getting materials from Afghanistan into Pakistan. We have materials that have been shipped. It's a little bit of a convoluted shipping pattern that we have adopted. But the problem is the materials are being held. There are huge backlogs at the border, and customs is just taking a long time. Okay. And I think I will leave it at that. I have the full report that I will share with the PIA-CAP listserv and with the conference committee, so that you'll have what I didn't get to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's time now for probably 1 or 2 questions from anyone online or in person. Anyone to ask Bill or William or Hong. There was a question in the chat came earlier, I think from Michael. Michael, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question, this would be great.
Hi, I was just wondering what the Library of Congress's plans are for adding Kurdish, Armenian, and Georgian script to their bibliographic records.
Hi, Michael. So I guess unofficially, I can say right now, Cairo, as well as the Middle East section in Washington, are currently testing Armenian script in bibliographic records. I don't have, and maybe Hong can add to that. I'm not sure of the timeline of when that is going to happen or be possible. As for Kurdish script, that hasn't been, it's been discussed as a theory, but not implemented in practice. Yeah, I think Armenian is the only thing I can say that we are currently testing right now. Joan may have some information to add.
So can people see her? I think she's- Oh, yeah.
Hi, just quickly, a lot of this is not compatible with the current cataloging system that we have in Voyager. And we're very excited that they're announcing a new cataloging system. We're calling it Next Gen Cataloging, and LCAT for short. And we hope to have that implemented by the end of 2023. So there's going to be a lot more capacity to embed these scripts that we're so anxious to get available for our researchers. So looking to the future, I don't think it's going to come in this current catalog, but there are teams testing these scripts assiduously at the Library of Congress and outside the library. And we're using Folio is going to be the next gen catalog. And it's got so many more capabilities. I'm on one of the implementation teams and primary focus on these other non-Roman scripts and how focus is going to be on hopefully the future of this new catalog and Folio.
Thank you, John. Any other questions? Yeah, Arthur, you can unmute yourself and speak, please.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see everyone. William and I always wondered, looking at the list of the countries served by the Cairo field office, I see the West Bank. How does the Library of Congress, do they get materials from Israel? And is there do they receive Hebrew materials in the Hebrew language, and how do they, if they receive those materials, how do those get to the Library of Congress?
Hi, Arthur. So Cairo office is responsible for West Bank and Gaza as separate entities. However, I failed to mention in my report that just this past year, we were given the green light by our colleagues in Washington to acquire Arabic language publications from Israel. So that kind of came at the tail end of our fiscal year, but we are going to be starting and we will be making those offerings to NACAP participants. As for Hebrew language materials, no, these are acquired directly from Washington. And we don't have any capacity in the office to acquire or process. And so the short answer is no and no, we don't offer. So as such, we don't offer those materials to participants.